When you think of EMCC youth ministry, what do you celebrate? And then also, how have you or your church valued the support EMCC has provided regarding youth ministry? So what things about the EMCC bring a smile to your face when you think of youth ministry? And then how have you or your church valued the support, either via youth directors or events? How have you valued the support that they've provided regarding youth ministry?
So discuss at your tables again.
Yeah.
And we'll do the same thing.
Number of people at our table. Gavin.
Gavin! We'll just put that in bold letters.
To unpack that a little bit, not just Gavin, but we found that there's been incredible support in the EMCC, sort of mentorship support from national team, but also what I think really sets us apart from other denominations is that we have a number of really long-standing youth pastors. So people that have been in youth ministry for the long haul, like the two gentlemen that are leading us today, and that's rare. That's rare. It actually allows the EMC to kind of bubble to the top as a denomination that's really people that have carried over the long haul. So.
He's telling me that I already went, but I'll still speak. In addition to Gavin, Mark, I remember almost 11 years ago, I think my accent was either strong then or Mark was still struggling to understand my accent. I knew that. I remember driving with Mark in North Bay when he was a youth director then, and I remember telling he has problem with memory, so I'm reminding him now. I remember telling him that, Mark, I don't think I connect with these guys. I'm wanting to do something else. And he said something along the lines that I also struggle. So it's not only you. In that, Mark was communicating that he will tell you where he's struggling. He was also going to tell, he was real with me as his volunteer then. He also was real with the youth, and that's one of the things I appreciate about Mark, and I think that's something that he gave at a local level and even when at a higher level. Youth want us to be real, and that's one of the things I learned from.
Yeah, awesome.
Some of the things that are celebrated at our table were the old Bible quiz program.
The what, Gavin?
Yeah. You can read about it in our history books. The partnership between churches that get together and do all kinds of things. We celebrate our camps, the pitch events.
Camps.
Some of the old sports tournaments, volleyball, hockey, baseball tournaments. Those are some of the things that we celebrate.
And those allowed for community to happen, right? Those are sort of a platform for community to take place. Yeah, anything else?
I was one of the quizzers that Gav used to drive, so thanks. So some of the things we celebrated at our table were World Partners. Rob works with First Nation up in the valley, and they have a camp. Yeah, give it up. And Mishawah has a week-long camp there, and he said how World Partners was just willing to pour into that and to ask questions and to really help to understand that culture because it's so different. Yeah. Marty is from BC. Welcome, Marty and Grover from the West. We were just talking there how the leadership at the EMCC level is making the bridge between the East and the West just a bit longer and a little bit easier to cross. Yeah. Because, again, the cultures between the East and the West. We celebrated our camps, and Mishawah in particular, for me anyway, and our family, and just the impact that that's had on the kids in their lives. And for me, it was pitch and praise. And for the second question, one of the things we talked about is how we feel that what Marty was saying was how Gavin and Mark have poured into trying to make that east and west again just a little bit closer.
Yeah. Yeah. So trying to unify us. Yeah. That's a resounding no.
Okay.
And speaking, and just so you know, so speaking into the microphone not only helps us, but we've got about 15 or so people
Oh yeah, true. The
online,
live
so that
stream.
helps with them as well.
Okay, I'll use the microphone. The second, I'm going to answer the second question for our table. We celebrate the events, obviously, like Pitch and Praise and Camp. We talked about Stainer and Mishawah. But the second question for us, some of us struggled with the word support because we feel like the resources for volunteers is limited in our denomination, and some of us talked about how they go outside to different denominations to find that support. And it's important to have resources because youth ministry can't happen without the volunteers. What else did we talk about? Youth builders. We talked about youth builders and how that was a good resource, and how that actually inspired other volunteers to get involved in youth ministry. So yeah.
How many former youth builders do we have in our midst? Awesome. We celebrate you. Yeah. How many churches have had or been influenced by youth builders? See your hands. Yeah. Amazing. All right, anything else? Either the first question or the second question. Take a mic. Yeah.
You go first.
Aaron really wants to mention Emmanuel Bible College.
I actually went to Rocky Mountain College, the other one out west. So
So
All right,
the
but our Bible
colleges,
colleges for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that when I was attending Rocky Mountain College, and this is more of a personal story, but I was working as a volunteer in the youth ministry, and then suddenly I was the leader of the youth ministry, and I personally had a lot of support. You know, there were some great people like Gavin and Marty and the then national youth team who I felt like I could go to. But people that I knew, and so I don't know if I was in a unique position where I was connected to all these people that were great resources. But I knew that when I reached out, I had those resources that I could connect with, that because I didn't know what I was doing.
Awesome. We still don't know what we're doing, by the way.
What we talked about is how with the EMCC is how they taught us a new way of youth ministry. They taught us a new way of youth ministry that taught us how to that youth ministry and youth groups could be a receptacle to foster growth internally and externally to the larger community.
This is kind of indirectly answering the second question, because it wasn't so much the support the EMCC provided, but events like Pitch and Praise created a network within our communities, like Stratford, where support actually happened for leaders and for youth, where I don't think our youth would have thrived the way they would have 15 years ago when I was in youth, without an event like Pitch to unite the youth groups, and they supported each other.
That's awesome. Is there anything else? Yep.
Similar, but our table said they appreciate the fact that EMC was providing events that they could trust. So they knew when they went, they didn't have to ask questions. It was going to be be good, and they valued the relationships between the ethos that's created between youth leaders, so they can get together, and there's great resourcing that comes out of that.
Yeah, it's awesome. Might need to raise the mic up.
So something that I celebrate is that the EMCC for decades modeled and resourced relational youth ministry, which I don't know if any other youth workers are in here have met as youth network with other youth pastors, but generally it either goes down to business or resourcing right away, and they miss that time to actually connect with the person. And so that's been modeled through the many different supports and events and programs like Pitch and Praise, Youth Builders, Generate, Accelerate, these sort of things that modeled this different way of connecting And then kind of bleeds right into the way of Jesus of a disciple-making movement of it's about the person first, of loving them and seeing how can we join them in their journey to God.
That's awesome.
Just to piggyback on that relational dynamic, there's also, within those relationships, there's the space to navigate difficult spiritual questions that you can't take outside of relationships. So you have the relational foundation, and then you're able to explore really difficult stuff. And I think that's a value of the EMC, providing those venues and those spaces.
Andrew, he says, he's watching online, he says, valued that the EMCC was able to bring youth pastors together through network groups to chat and challenge. So some of the things we've already been talking about.